We often hear these stories, about moments of inspiration, like someone has a flash of insight on a mountaintop and boom, a whole new healing practice is born.
Right, those pivotal moments.
Exactly. But what if the origins of something huge, like Reiki, something known globally, what if its roots were actually tangled up with, say, the samurai, one of history's most well-known warrior groups?
That's a really interesting angle. It definitely adds another layer to the usual story of how Reiki began.
It does, doesn't it? Welcome. Today we're digging into this intriguing idea, the possible samurai roots of Reiki.
And we're looking at this through the lens of an article by Bronwen Logan called The Samurai Origins of Reiki with Bronwen.
That's right. And Bronwen Logan, for anyone who might not know her work, is a really significant voice in the Reiki world. We're talking over 20 years of experience. She co-founded major Reiki associations. She really knows her stuff.
Absolutely. She digs deep into the history, finds connections others might miss. It's great work.
It is. So our mission today, really, is to look closely at the clues Bronwen uncovers. Clues from Mikao Usui himself, the founder of Reiki.
From his own writings.
Yes, specifically hints in his work that suggest he came from a samurai family background, and then how could that have shaped Reiki's development?
And there's that apparent contradiction too, right? This idea of closely guarded family secrets versus his later decision to teach openly.
Exactly that paradox. Okay, let's dive in. Bronwen's article points us to a really specific quote from Usui's own manual, the Usui Reiki Ryo Hikei.
Ah, yes. This one is fascinating. Usui writes, from ancient times, whenever someone develops a secret method, the one would teach this to the people among family as a legacy for the later generations of the family living.
So he's explicitly acknowledging this tradition right there, keeping secrets within the family line.
He is. And Bronwen points out this wasn't just any family tradition in Japan. It was especially strong, apparently, among samurai families.
Right. They weren't just masters of martial arts. They often held, exclusive knowledge, healing techniques, spiritual practices, things kept strictly within the family.
Makes sense. That knowledge would be a huge part of their identity, their standing. You wouldn't just share it around.
Definitely not. And Bronwen mentions Usui's family were Hatamoto.
Which was a high rank.
Yeah.
Really high. Serving the shogun directly, like personal guards.
So a family with prestige and likely access to that kind of protected family knowledge. Why was secrecy so vital for them, do you think?
Well, like you said, power. It reinforced their status, set them apart, knowing special healing methods or, specific spiritual techniques. That's valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, you have this deeply ingrained tradition of secrecy, especially in a high-ranking family like Usui's. And then he comes out and calls this exact practice, really the past century's bad custom.
Whoa. That's quite a statement, especially coming from him.
Right. Super radical for someone with that background. What could possibly make him say that?
Well, this is where the timing becomes crucial, isn't it? The Meiji Restoration, 1868. That changed everything in Japan.
Completely dismantled the feudal system. The samurai class basically abolished.
Exactly. And Usui was born when? 1865. So he lived right through this massive upheaval. His family's whole world, their status, their role in society, it was all being reshaped.
So it wasn't just some philosophical point he was making. It was his reality. His family's traditions were suddenly maybe obsolete or needing redefinition.
Precisely. And that makes his reason for breaking the secrecy tradition even more powerful. He says, in modern days, we have to live together. That's going to be the basis of happiness, earnestly wanting social progress.
Wow. It sounds like he's calling for unity, for moving forward together in this new Japan.
It really does. That focus on living together on social progress. It echoes the whole spirit of the Meiji era, that drive to modernize, to build a nation.
And then he seals it with, I definitely won't allow to keep this for myself.
It's so deliberate. A conscious choice against centuries of tradition, potentially his own family's tradition.
Which brings us to the next big question. What was this secret method he felt he had to share?
Because, almost in the same breath, he makes another pretty big claim.
Right. He says, our Reiki Rerho is a creative idea which no one has developed before, and there is nothing like this in this world.
It feels like a contradiction, doesn't it? He acknowledges the secret family method tradition, but says his thing is totally new. How do those fit together?
That's the puzzle. How do we square that?
Well, maybe. Maybe innovation isn't always about inventing something from absolutely nothing.
Okay.
What if Usui took elements from his family traditions, Maybe healing stuff, maybe spiritual ideas, maybe even things connected to martial arts philosophy.
Uh-huh.
And then he combined those with other things he learned or experienced, like Buddhist practices, Shinto influences, things that were just part of the cultural mix then.
So the secret method wasn't maybe one single thing, but like a pool of knowledge from his lineage.
Could be. And his genius, maybe, was weaving those threads together, creating something new out of existing strands, something that fit the times.
Something for a Japan that was changing so fast.
Exactly. So the uniqueness is in the synthesis. The specific way he combined everything and presented it. That's what makes it new, even if not every single piece was unheard of before.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. It bridges that gap.
And Bronwen picks up on another really interesting word Usui uses. Dare.
Ah, yeah. I dare to openly teach this method. That word dare, it feels loaded.
It really does. It suggests it took courage. Maybe it was even a bit defiant, going against the grain.
Why use such a strong word, dare?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
In that society, with its hierarchies and emphasis on family secrets,
Hmm.
just openly sharing potentially privileged knowledge, that was a big deal.
Just a significant step.
And Bronwen adds another layer, the whole political climate of the Meiji era.
Right, the push for modernization, and the government was promoting state Shinto.
While also sometimes suppressing Buddhism, or at least trying to separate it out with policies like Shimbutsu Bunri.
Which, just quickly, that was a big deal itself, right? Shinto and Buddhism had been intertwined for centuries, shared shrines and temples.
Oh, absolutely. Deeply mixed. Bronwen mentions Prince Shutoku way back, trying to harmonize them. So this forced separation was really disruptive.
So Usui is operating in this really complicated religious and political soup.
Definitely. So when he talks about sharing his method for the people's benefit and welfare, Bronwen suggests that language kind of lines up with the Meiji government's talk about national progress, citizen well-being.
Makes sense. And he included poems from the Meiji emperor, the Gyosei, in his teachings.
Yeah, like that one.
Ah.
Keep your mental richness and quality within yourself, whatever happens in the world.
Using those poems certainly suggests some alignment with the imperial ideology, or at least an awareness of it.
It does, but, and this is a key detail Bronwen notes, his memorial stone says he was still a Zyke.
A lay Buddhist monk.
Right, which suggests his relationship with the state ideology wasn't simple assimilation. He seems to have kept his Buddhist identity.
So maybe he was navigating things carefully, using language that resonated with the times, aligning where it made sense, but keeping his own spiritual core.
That seems plausible. A blend of genuine conviction, wanting to share this beneficial practice, and also perhaps some strategic positioning to make sure Reiki could, well, survive and thrive in that changing Japan.
It paints a picture of a complex figure in a complex time.
It really does. But whatever the exact mix of reasons, the big takeaway, as Bronwen really emphasizes, is his choice to share.
Yeah. The precise samurai roots might stay a bit hazy. We might never know the exact details of the family knowledge.
But Josie's own words strongly hint that his background influenced what became Reiki.
And the Reiki we know today is basically a result of that blend, his insights, possibly his heritage, and crucially, that progressive decision to share it widely, especially then, during such upheaval.
It really shows how one person's choice, responding to their times, can have such a lasting impact.
So for you listening, it's fascinating, isn't it? Usui's own words offer these tantalizing clues that his samurai past likely helped shape Reiki's foundation.
And that choice to share, going against potentially centuries of tradition in a Japan undergoing radical change, that was huge.
It really makes you think, how our own histories, our backgrounds, and the big shifts happening in the world around us, how they can shake things we might see as purely personal or spiritual.
Absolutely. What you practice or believe today, it probably has a much richer, maybe more unexpected history than you realize.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. This tension Usui navigated between holding on to tradition and embracing progress, sharing knowledge.
That tension is still with us, isn't it, in so many areas?
Totally. What secret methods, maybe not literal ones, but what knowledge or practices are out there now, waiting to be shared more broadly for everyone's benefit?
Something to chew on.
Definitely. And if you want to explore this more, please do check out Bronwen Logan's article, The Samurai Origins of Reiki.
Yeah.
And she has fantastic books, too. The Reiki Source book, The Japanese Art of Reiki, plus the Reiki Women podcast she co-founded. Lots to dig into.
Really valuable resources if this sparked your interest.
Well, thanks for joining us today.